Hi, I'm Mel,
Hi, I'm Danny.
and we're the Sheehan sisters. If you haven't seen our faces before, we make podcast commentary videos on topics we like to discuss.
So grab your coffee, grab your snacks, grab your water, stay hydrated, and let's dive into today's episode.
Maybe we just never switch it up again. This is why people have their scripts. It's like, yeah, let's just follow what we do. Okay, I'm almost done with my coffee. What?
I said all right. Well, I had to get another cup because it's a 3-cup coffee kind of day.
I've had 2.5, so I only filled this one halfway this time. So I had 2.5. And you know what I don't like in my coffee, actually?
What?
Ice. I just want it to be cold. I don't need the ice.
I don't understand people who don't like ice. Oh, this is
You see where I'm going.
I see. Okay.
But I do understand people who don't like ice. Segue into we're getting right into the topics, I think, right?
Speaking of ice, we wanted to point out our last episode where our overall theme was save the children. You know, everything we do impacts their future. And unfortunately, in the most recent news of us filming, today is January 26th, we saw some pretty horrifying things.
Yeah, there's a lot happening right now. Specifically, we wanted to mention the 5-year-old, the little boy Liam, who got taken by ICE, and there have been other children that have been taken and put into detention centers, but this little boy specifically was used as bait to try to get his family to come out, and there's pictures all over the internet of just this cute, innocent little kid just trying to go to school, trying to live his life, and the heartless, soulless monsters have taken him. And I don't even know, like, it's hard. It's a hard topic to talk about, and we just want to bring more awareness, and we just felt like it was the timing of it all because we had filmed our last podcast before this had happened, and it was just interesting that we had chose the message of save the children in our last podcast. And of course, like I mentioned, they have taken other kids before. This is the first, I guess, that it has been fully documented and filmed. We just want to make it known that we are aware of what's currently happening in our world and in our country, and that we don't agree with what's happening, and we're just going to make it very clear at the start of this video, and maybe every video, of where we stand and what side of history we're on. And fuck ICE, fuck Trump. We don't agree with any of that shit, and we want to also link resources and videos down below. Danny has a video that I think, did you have one video or 2 videos that you wanted to link today?
I do. I'm going to be linking a video that does a great job at outlining what ICE has been doing. And as much as you may be keeping up with the news, I feel like this video maps out what this administration is doing, and clearly it makes it clear on the unjustifiable actions that this agency is committing. And I just think, you know, wherever you stand, you should please consider watching this video just so you can get all the facts. We just want to make sure that we're using our platform to be the eyes and the ears and calling out what this administration is doing. I'm also going to be linking this channel called The Financial Diet. They created a post that offers a guide on how you can take action. I know so many of us are frustrated right now, and we may not have the ability to go out to protest, so we are looking for other ways to show our resistance. So I want to offer this resource if you're feeling frustrated and confused and don't know what to do or where to go. And I just think that the very least we can do is stay informed and educate ourselves. So that's another reason why Mel and I want to make sure we're pointing this out, because they want the news to die down, right? They want their actions to get swept under the rug. And if we are constantly reminding one another about what the fuck is happening in our world, then that's going to put pressure on not only the administration, but put pressure on these ICE agents that we're watching them, and we are not going to stay silent. We're not going to let this continue without any sort of pushback.
Stay safe out there. As anyone who is going to protest, thank you. But be safe. Go with the group. Stick together.
It's important for us to call out what we're witnessing, because this administration is counting on people to go about their lives in their normal routine. And for some people, it can be easy to do so. But for a lot of us, it's weighing heavy. It's infuriating. I keep saying infuriating because it is. It's disgusting. It makes me sick. And we don't want to, as much as we love filming our YouTube videos, we don't want to put the camera on and pretend. So we want to make sure that maybe not in every episode, but a good portion of our videos, we're going to speak up. Something we started recently to empower ourselves was our book club. We wanted to challenge ourselves to read a book a month, because we feel like technology and social media is chipping away at our intelligence. We want to restore that love for reading, and I think a lot of the books we have chosen are significant because most of them are banned books.
When we say banned books, specifically, these are books that have been banned in school libraries. Obviously, you can still go to the public library or a bookstore to buy them, but most of these books have been banned in school libraries, which I think is important to note, because they don't want the youth, which is, the youth is, again, going back to our last video. Also, watch our last video because we review our first book for January, which is Fahrenheit 451.
Most of the books we have lined up are fiction, and some people believe that reading fiction is a waste of time, but I still find that fiction and storytelling can still teach you a lot, especially if you're reading stories from other cultures, different backgrounds. I just think that there's still so much to learn from fiction. I don't think it's a waste of time. I feel like even with Fahrenheit 451, that was technically fiction, but we've noticed that it is eerily a reflection of our modern world. And that book was written in 1951. So I think there's a lot to take away from fiction, regardless of it being a story, you know. I was going to say a made up story, but a lot of these stories do come from real world experiences.
Exactly. Like the book we're going to read, even though it's technically fiction, it mirrors real life and is based on true emotions and feelings. And even though the character per se isn't an actual person, it's based, like I said, based on the emotions of an actual person and the author that wrote it. So yeah, like even if it's the book is fiction, like the meaning behind it and the purpose of the book holds weight in reality.
Absolutely. And our book for February is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. I was telling Mel, I think I read this years ago in college. I'm sure it'll come back to me once I start reading it, but I vaguely remember reading this because it was, I hope it still is a staple in literature.
Yes, Toni Morrison is an incredible author. This is my first time reading any of her books, but I've heard of so many more of her books, and we were debating between another book of hers that we might read later down the road. Should I read the back, the summary to them?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Pacola Breedlove, a young black girl, prays every day for beauty. Mocked by other children for the dark skin, curly hair, and brown eyes that sets her apart, she yearns for the blonde hair and blue eyes that she believes will allow her to finally fit in. Yet as her dream grows more fervent, her life slowly starts to disintegrate in the face of adversity and strife. A brilliant examination of our obsession with beauty and conformity, Toni Morrison's virtuous first novel asks powerful questions about race, class, and gender with the subtlety, why can't I say that? And subtlety and grace that have always characterized her writing. Would you believe me if I told you I took AP English and English honors? Because I don't know. Like, that's what I'm telling you. Like, you have to keep training your mind. Your mind is your brain is a muscle, and you have to keep up with it. Otherwise, it's not gonna. But yeah, I'm excited to read this book because Danny and I are always talking about beauty standards, and that's going to be a topic of this video again today. And obviously, again, as we mentioned, as white women, we feel it's important to speak up and speak out. And again, so the white people out there too, is like, you have to see life from other people's perspective, because no matter what we go through, we'll never fully understand what it's like to feel this way, because we don't face racism. And I hope that that's what the author intended too, where she's like, I need to get this story out there because there's people who don't understand it, and that's what we're hoping for too. Like, as much as I can have my own insecurities in life, like seeing it from another lens and perspective, and one that I'll never fully gain, is like, that's the point of the book.
Mel and I just considered restarting this whole video because I feel like we're having difficulty articulating ourselves, and we have mentioned this many times.
That's why we're reading.
I know, exactly. That's the point. We're like, why do we sound, I don't want to say we sound like we're idiots, but sometimes we won't finish a full sentence and we're like, wait, this is a problem. We need to start reading again because our brain really is rotting, and we're trying our best to convey how we feel even when the topic is difficult. So thank you for watching, and please bear with us. I think this is obviously practice for us. We don't do public speaking on a regular basis, and I do want to point out, if you are somebody who's a bit of a loner and you aren't talking to someone on a regular basis, it can, like us, it can be difficult when you're on camera and you're like, okay, let me fully express all the things I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wait a minute, why did my mind just go blank and I don't know any words in the dictionary?
Right. Well, also Danny and I both have had trouble sleeping. And just the world is just, it's just awful. Like, I know, again, like maybe you were looking for some hope and positivity, but I think it's important to also be like, okay, right now things kind of, you know, suck. And that's me using like a lesser word to even sum it all up. Like, things are just kind of terrible now. So I feel like our minds are just jumbled.
Right, and that's what they want. They want people to not be able to think clearly. They want our brains to be mush, honestly. And we are fighting against that. And we want to encourage you to join us. Please, if you're able to, pick up The Bluest Eye at your local bookstore, at the library. You know, sometimes you can find it for free somewhere.
But I do want to say there are some books where like find for free if you can, but we also do want to support Toni Morrison. So
We do want to support the authors, especially because we're writers ourselves. And if you see me publishing a book one day, go buy it.
they'll go find it for free. But no, if you don't have the money, obviously, like do what you can.
Right.
Do what you can, yeah. But the library, it's free.
I do feel like our book this month does correlate with our theme, our overall theme today, which does talk about beauty standards and body dysmorphia. And we wanted to start by discussing a movie we watched a couple weeks ago. Or was it longer than that?
I feel like I watched it you watched it more recently than I did, because I watched it, I feel like a month ago, maybe 2 months at this point.
That movie is The Substance, starring Demi Moore. And I just want to start out by saying that movie got me fucked up.
Same.
That movie disturbed me in many ways.
Yeah.
Do we want to give them a small synopsis?
Yeah, your favorite. Yeah, sure.
It's a running joke that I clearly cannot shorten up a summary on movies.
Well, I think also it's like either they've seen it or they haven't. That's just kind of, I'm more so on that end where I'm like, you either get it or you don't.
Well, go watch it and then come back to our episode if you haven't seen it. But that movie kind of takes place in its own dish soap.
Guys, we're not on drugs. We are sober. We're sober today.
Yeah, I am sober. I stopped smoking before filming because I felt like that was the problem, but I'm realizing
maybe I'm the problem.
it's me all along. So The Substance kind of takes place in its own dystopian world where you have the ability to get a substance that you can inject and make you younger. See, that was short, right?
That was perfect.
Listen, I did not expect the outcome of this substance, okay? I didn't know that it was going in this direction. So Demi Moore's character, named Elizabeth Sparkle, is older, but she's reflecting on her prime because she used to be, she's still doing it. She does these workout videos, and they want to replace her because she's older now. And as you know, the media discards women mostly the minute they turn anything beyond 22, I would say.
I was gonna say 25, but yeah, that's good. Yeah.
The minute you're not in your 20s anymore, you're an old hag and you need to get off the screen. And that's what this production company did to Demi, right? They told her, we're replacing you.
Yeah, basically, yeah. They're like, you're done, you're fired, it's over. You have no worth anymore.
Like, sorry, you're old and you're useless to us. Even though she looks absolutely stunning, her body is in shape. She's gorgeous.
Yeah, that's what when the film first started and I'm looking at Demi Moore, I'm like, oh my gosh, she looks so good. And then Margaret Qualley comes on the screen and you're like, okay. And like, obviously they're both beautiful. But again, if you're going to compare a woman in her 40s or is she in her 50s around that time to a woman who's in her 20s, like, yeah, you're not going to, it's not going to be the same. It's not meant to be the same. You're aging. That's what happens. But I even found myself, which I guess is the point of the movie, like comparing myself to both characters and
same.
And even though I'm only like at the beginning of my 30s, I was relating so much to Demi Moore's character and just feeling like my prime is like, and that's what society does to you. They'll be like, your prime is done, your time is up.
That's something I'm still struggling with. I was just telling Mel, I'll look at old photos and I'm like, where is she? What happened to her? But I still love myself. And I think I look youthful, you know? It's just that I am not 21 anymore.
Yeah. So if you're in your 20s, enjoy that shit. Take all the pictures.
Right, but I also think society did get brainwashed because I've had people that were younger and I told them my age and they're like, ew. It's like once you're 30, your life is over.
Well, if I live to 100, I got 70 years of life to live. I got so much more life ahead of me than I have behind me. So it's like, why am I feeling like it's over?
Well, even you and I succumbed to that pressure because we were like, we're gonna make it at 25 and we're gonna be rich and successful and we're going to be these famous YouTubers.
I do think about that sometimes too, where like, cause Danny and I have been making YouTube videos for like about 10 years now, not consistently, and we've deleted the video. We go back and forth between deleting them and remaking them and doing it again, and like we haven't been as consistent as we should have been. And yeah, every year I remember thinking like, all right, by 25, all right, 26, all right, 27. And then it just kept going up and up. And then I think that's when people start to feel like hopeless or like get whatever kind of career field they're in where they're like, this is what I need by this age. Like I need the house, I need the partner, I need this, I need this, you know, whatever it is like I need the title. Like you think you need all of these things by a certain age. And it's like you are making that up and society is making that up. They're pulling that out their ass and saying this is what you need. And it's not true.
Right, and we even admitted that we're glad we didn't attain any sort of success or notoriety in our 20s because we were a hot mess.
But that's the time to be a hot mess, is in your 20s. Not that you have to be, but like, but you can still be a hot mess in your 30s, you know, it's okay. Like, it's okay to make mistakes.
No, of course, you're going to make mistakes throughout your whole life. It doesn't mean by the time I'm 35, I have everything together and I never make any mistake anymore and I learned all the lessons in my life that I needed to learn. That's just not going to happen. You're going to continuously learn. You should continuously learn new lessons as you age, and this is why they say that the older you get, the wiser you become, because one would hope that you're learning from these lessons and not just repeating them over and over again. I've learned to embrace aging. I did have a midlife crisis. It's not even midlife, quarter life, sorry. I had a quarter life crisis turning 25, and I also felt like, well, it's downhill from here. And then as I got closer to 30, I started having some panic attacks about turning 30. But now I'm in my 30s and early 30s, okay? Relax. And I'm embracing it. I'm happy. I feel like I shed a lot of insecurities I had throughout my 20s, and I feel like I'm able to present myself in a way that feels true to me, and I don't feel like I need to conform anymore. You know, I think back to my 20s, and so many times I felt the pressure of being a certain type of person or having a certain type of personality in order to gain validation and to be liked. For so many years, I wanted to be liked, and I was liked. I'm just saying I don't feel the pressure now to have everyone around me love me.
I agree with that. Not for myself. Not, I'm not saying I agree with, you doing that.
Well, I'm sure you've seen my growth with that. I remember Mel actually asked me, do you remember this? You asked me, you said, it was, trying to remember how you phrased it, but you were like, do you like them? Do you only like them because they like you? In reference to some friendships. And I was like, oh, you might be onto something there.
Well, I feel like I sadly didn't have that realization until I hit 30. I feel like once I hit 30, that's when I feel like my frontal lobe developed. I know people say it's 25. At 25, that's when our dad, for me, that's when our dad passed away. It was when I was 25. So I feel like I was dealing with so much trauma that my frontal lobe couldn't develop. Obviously, this is just me speaking on myself. I don't have any scientific proof to back this up. But I felt like at 30, like a click happened. Like I felt it like, like I felt like I felt my spirit fall back into my body, and like I was coming back to myself.
What do you think that click was?
Well, going off of what you said about when I asked you that question, and this was more so for me for dating. I am still single.
Nothing wrong with that. Well, that's another thing. If you're a single woman after the age of 30, you're also useless. What's wrong with you?
But I was gonna say, like, that realization hit for me about dating, where I'm like, do I like this person, or do I just want them to like me? And like that was a big realization for me, where I was caring more about wanting someone to want me and wanting them to like me, and not caring as much as if I even want or like that person. And that was like a big realization that hit for me. But yeah, I've noticed that too, where like I'll get judged by men, which is like disgusting. But it's like I'm going out on dates, and it's like, you're gonna tell them your age, or even if you're on a dating app and you put your age on there. And I've had people ask me, or even like be on dates and guys ask me if why I'm not married, or if I want kids and why I don't have kids and things like that. And I remember the last time I was asked that, like I got really emotional, because it's something I do want, and it's, if you don't want kids, that's fine. Like, women don't need to have children.
Not the single man with no children asking you why you're not married already. Like, why are you not married?
Right, exactly. And like I remember being younger and like seeing that and thinking in my head, oh, if you're single by this age, must be something wrong with you. And then I'm there and I'm like, there are things wrong with me for sure, not perfect, but like it's not that I'm unworthy of being loved or finding love. But I remember getting really emotional, because it's like I do want to have children, and I do recognize the fact that it is going to be harder for me the older I get. I mean, there's always adoption, and there's other options out there as well, but there is that societal pressure of,
I personally don't want children. Never will. I never will have children. I knew at a young age I didn't want children, and so many people throughout my life were telling me that I was going to change my mind. I also was told that I'm going to hell for not having children. So I understand that aspect, that scrutiny against women who choose to be childless. And I do want to talk about that. I don't think our focus today will be about that, but I did want to point that out.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to bring that up because it's something like, again, like once you're in your 30s, people, for women, we've always get asked that. Like you said, your whole, like, my whole life, like, I don't think there's ever been an age where I wasn't asked about having a family. And like, it's super weird that we do that. But yeah, definitely the older you get, and it's like, well, time's clicking, time's running out. And it's just sad because like men don't have that same pressure. Like they can be 40 and single and a bachelor and dating a 20-year-old, and no one really even cares.
Right. But just to circle back to the movie, so we don't get, we did go on a slight tangent, which we usually do anyway.
We go on a lot of tangents, but it's relevant because in this also, she's a single woman, she's older, she doesn't have a husband, she doesn't have kids, she's realizing her life too, I feel like, in the movie, of like what she has and what she doesn't have, and now she's losing her career.
Which is why she succumbs to the pressure of taking the substance. And I don't know how they thought of this, but ultimately, a younger version of you comes out of you. I don't know how else to say it. You either saw it or you didn't. But if you didn't see it and you happen to be watching this episode, she takes the injection, falls onto the floor, and then a younger version of her is ripped out from her back. Okay? What the fuck? This is some Twilight Zone type of sci-fi.
Yes.
And so basically, like, the older version of you and the younger version of you have to switch off every, what was it, every week, every 7 days?
Yeah, every 7 days, you have to switch back into the other body. So like one of you is asleep for a week, and the other person, yeah. So, and then you also have to feed the body. Right? Is that what they were doing? They had to feed the other person while they're asleep?
Right, because you're still connected to one another, and you can't let the older version of you die, nor can you let the younger version of you die. And I'm pretty sure once you take this substance, you can't go back, right? It's just that's now your life.
No, she kept calling saying, I want to cancel it. And then they were like, are you sure? And then she'd be like, no, forget it. She could have canceled it earlier, because remember at the end, she's like, I want to cancel it. And she canceled it, and then she's like trying to revive her.
Yes.
So you could cancel it. You just got to do it before it's too late. But I also, okay, so I want to get into theories. I have multiple theories. I feel like this movie touched upon so many topics. Like, I feel like it could stand for not just body dysmorphia, but like, and aging, but like substance abuse, which again is called the substance, addiction, depression, eating disorder. I feel like it touched upon, like, you can put any one of those topics into the movie and it fits so perfectly. Like having this like two sides of you. Like I specifically remember the scene of her, she stayed up all night and she's eating and she's watching TV, and then Demi Moore's character, and then the next day when they switch back, it's Margaret Qualley's character, whose name is Sue. She sees what she's done. She looks and she sees the food all over the place and everything all over, and she's just like pissed off because, like, do you remember the scene where like the chicken bone is in her stuff? Like, she's mad at the other version of her for not treating her body well. So I feel like that goes, again, like that can go into so many different categories of life, of like, the next day you wake up and you regret maybe drinking, you regret maybe what you ate, you're having all this regret of what you were doing the day before or the week before. So I just feel like it can go into so many topics. What do you think?
The overall message I got once I finished the movie was appreciate what you have and appreciate who you are. In a sense that so many of us want what we can't have, or we want what other people have, right? Like, for example, just to relate it back to me and looking back at photos of myself when I was younger and wishing I still had the same body I did when I was in my 20s. But I know when I'm 70, right, I'm going to look back at who I was in my 30s and wish I was her. So I just have to keep that in mind, that as I age, I'm going to look back at the younger version of me, no matter which period I'm looking back on, and miss her, and I have to appreciate who I am now, because I know when I'm on my deathbed, I'm going to think back at all these years and realize that I wasted so much time criticizing myself. So that's just a reminder I try to keep in the back of my mind when I'm nitpicking certain parts of myself, that you appreciate your youth, appreciate your strength, and appreciate your hair, all the little pieces of me that I may pick at, but I know that it's really not as bad as I'm perceiving it in this moment. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I want to go off of what you're saying, because I think it's interesting that you're like, oh, I'm going to miss her. And like, where is she? And you're kind of putting this distance between yourself. And I remember in the movie, when she would try to call to cancel, if either one of them were calling, they'd be like, you are one. And that was the message. And I feel like that's why another overall message is like, take care of yourself and love yourself, because you're looking at this as like her, like you are her. Even when you're 70, like you're her, she's you got her there. So it's like, don't criticize yourself, obviously, and like love yourself every step of the way, and know that who you are now is going to get you to who you're going to be when you're 70.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I feel like so Demi Moore, sorry, her name was Elizabeth Sparkle. Demi Moore's character, Elizabeth, she progressively deteriorates ultimately.
Right, because Sue, again, they are one person, where like she doesn't want to ever go back into the older version of herself, because she wants to continue her career and she wants to stay young and beautiful forever, as like, who doesn't?
There was this moment where Sue doesn't take care of Elizabeth, right, while Elizabeth's asleep, and pushes the boundary where she, they have to swap every 7 days, and if they don't, it causes issues. And Sue pushes the boundaries, and she'll go past the 7 days and then realize that she will no longer exist if she doesn't swap back with Elizabeth. So she has to give in and swap back. And then Elizabeth wakes up and she notices that her finger, it's dead ultimately, right? Like her finger got some sort of fungus. She realizes her finger is decrepit. This minor deformity sends her spiraling, because she wants to attain perfection, which is why she ended up taking the substance. And she has that moment of panic where she's like, how do I reverse this? And watch the movie, because it gets so much worse for Elizabeth, to the point where she becomes this feeble old woman, where her whole body becomes deformed and is on the brink of death, because Sue kept messing up the the process. Sue was fully immersed in her vanity and her attention seeking that she refused to follow the rules. And that's when I had this realization that Demi Moore's character was perfectly beautiful way before any of this happened, and now she can never go back to that version of herself. And that's why I'm saying I have to appreciate what you have and who you are, because I don't want to say because it can always be worse, but when you take it for granted.
No, I was gonna say a lot of people do take what they have for granted, that if they're able-bodied, if they're whatever it is, like a lot of people take their life in general for granted and always want more. And we've talked about this in other episodes of just like caring so much about the superficial and the outside of what it looks like, where we're all gonna one day be older and wrinkled, and that's okay because we lived life, and hopefully we lived it as best as we could and as happily as we could, and as being as kind and as, you know, just, I keep saying good, but just as good as we possibly can given all the circumstances. And there's and like, yeah, again, not to compare like, oh, so someone has it worse, because we've talked about that too, that we don't like saying that. It's like just appreciating yourself and where you are.
Absolutely. And try your best not to attain perfection, because it doesn't exist, right? We know this, and that's something I still struggle with, because in my 20s I did value my looks. I prioritized my looks, especially when it came to dating and gaining attention and validation. I prioritized my beauty, and then I realized that I was having these superficial, shallow connections where the person I was seeing wasn't valuing anything else but my looks.
I relate to that, and that's another thing too, where like it's like, oh, look back at pictures of yourself. I look back and it's just selfies, and I'm like, this conceited bitch. Where are your memories? Where are your experiences? Where are your friends? Where is the life you're trying to build? Because you're spending so much of your time, like you said, just on like what you look like, and just making sure you know, like you're not there's no substance. There's nothing of substance. There's nothing tangible for you to be like, well, I have this. And it's, again, it took me a lot, not later, because we're still young, but it took me later in my life to be like, okay, I want to focus on building friendships. I want to focus on my intelligence. I want to like other aspects of my life that I want to focus on, not just my looks. And it's okay, like, you know, it's okay to just wake up and who I am is who I am, and just go about the day as that.
Exactly. And even now when we do our YouTube videos, we just kind of, we've talked about this. We don't dress up like we used to or do our makeup like we used to, because we've come to love our natural selves. But that doesn't mean, you know, if you do love makeup and if that works for you and that makes you feel confident, go for it.
But that's the internet. That's another topic too, where people are going to take anything we say and flip it and reverse it and say, well, but I'm this, and it's like, it's not about you right now. We're talking about ours. How I choose to live my life, as you live your life how you want to live your life.
Right. If you love makeup and that's your thing, do it, go for it.
Funny enough, we're wearing makeup today.
Yeah, like today we were like, Mel was like, oh, I think I'm putting eyeliner on today because.
And just to go off of that, I think it's so funny. I said to a coworker one time, because me and her started wearing eyeliner, and like, I was like, isn't it funny? You just put a little black line on your eye and you feel like it does, like, I understand how it makes you, it just changes your mood. Like, put a little black line on your eye and you're like, I'm ready for anything.
Exactly.
Baby.
I'm not sure. Oh.
Sorry.
I'm not sure if you remember this, but when I was around 14, 15, 16. I would say like 14,
15, 16. In your teens.
Well, because it lasted a good amount of years where I would not leave the house without putting eyeliner on. Do you remember this? Because I had a friend who would be like, oh, there she is. She can't walk out without putting eyeliner on.
I think we've all been there. I have to stop referencing that video. No, but I relate because I'd be like, I gotta go to the store just to grab something. And I'm like, wait, I've been there. I think it's like a pivotal moment in a woman's life where you feel like, oh, I gotta put my face on.
Absolutely.
When do you feel like you came out of, like, when do you think you were like, okay, it's fine that I don't have the eyeliner on?
It lasted a good amount of years. I also, in high school, had a boyfriend who, you know, he'd be like, oh, you don't have...
In high school, I had a boyfriend, the end.
who didn't encourage my natural beauty. He'd be like, oh, you don't have the paint on your eyes today.
Oh.
You know who. But he also, I think...
My least favorite boyfriend of them.
Least, right. And I know you can relate to this because we both shared a similar experience where our boyfriends were trying to dictate what we eat and making sure that we were skinny.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've been in controlling relationships of like controlling what I eat and what I wear and all of that. And if that is your man, if you are finding yourself in that situation, run fast, run far. And if you can't run, walk, crawl, call for help, because you don't want to be with someone who's gonna control you and tell you who to be and who you are. And I've seen this happen too, where like, you know, this is what we do, speaking as women, where it's like, well, I want to be what he likes, so I'm gonna change and conform myself to what he likes. If he doesn't like makeup, because I've had that happen too, where like one boyfriend I had was like, oh yeah, I want you to wear the makeup, and one guy was like, oh, you don't need all that, because he thought I was trying to impress. Because then there are some men who think, oh, well, you're doing that because you want to impress and you want to attract other men, and like the confliction opinions of it all. And it's like, actually, I'm going to do what I want to do because I want to do it. If I want to put on makeup today, I don't want to put on makeup today. If I want to get dressed up, if I don't want to get dressed up.
Right. The boyfriend I had after the high school boyfriend, he liked the natural look.
Right, and then again, we feel like I need to do what they like, and it's like, well, what do you like? And that's what I was going off of too, of like, does this person like me, or do I just want them, or do I like this person, or do they just like me? And like, again, am I doing this because I like it, or am I doing this because that's another transformation and realization that you start to have in your life of like, do I do this because I actually want to do this?
For sure. I you know, just to go back to your question, it did take me to, you know, I don't know, when did I really start embracing no makeup? Because it's been years now since I didn't feel the need to always put makeup on. And for the most part, if you see me out on the street, I won't have makeup on. But it's so funny, right? Because I started to miss wearing makeup, and I would do open mics. I've done some performances where I'll do spoken word, and I would look back at the footage and I was like, oh my God, I need to start wearing makeup because I look horrible. And I think you know, it creeps in, you know, that's the point I'm trying to make, because even when Mel and I are editing, I'm like, girl, why did you do your hair like that day? Like, why didn't you put some eyeliner on? And, you know, it's not like you're fully going to release those battles. I think that it'll still creep in.
Right, and that's something I want to say too, is like, that's something I realized too, where it's like, again, if you enjoy wearing makeup, then wear it, obviously. But there was, for myself anyway, there were times where I realized I was wearing it because I thought I was ugly without it. and I didn't want to have that feeling. And I feel like that's one of the reasons I started to not wear makeup, because I wanted to love my face and myself without it. I didn't want to look at myself without it and think that I was ugly. You look different without makeup. And people try to fight that, and it's like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's what it's there for. It's there to make you look different, and that's okay. But like, you have to love yourself without it as well.
Absolutely. It's funny because I've had similar experiences where I showed up without makeup and they're like, "Oh, like, are you okay?"
No, and I've done this to people too before, and it's like, you're gonna look different, and it's not in an offensive way. It's like, it's just what it did what it intended to do.
Right. And then on the opposite side of the end, where I show up like because now I'm mainly barefaced, that if I show up with makeup, people are like, "Oh, I've never seen you like that before." It's like, well, you don't know me on a regular basis, so.
Right, or like, oh, who are you trying to look cute for? Nobody, myself. I just decided.
And I'm sure you've gotten this too, because we both used to wear contacts all the time. We hated our glasses.
I was about to just get into that.
We hated our glasses. And it's so funny because there was a point where glasses became a trend, and it's still pretty popular.
That pissed me off. I'm sorry. And now I will catch myself asking people when I do see them with glasses. I'm like, do you need those, or those? I'll ask people that straight. I'm like, do you need those or not? Because, and a lot of times they're like, no, it's just for style. And I'm like, for style? You understand? Some of us got bullied. My disability is not your fucking trend to have. Okay, I know it really pisses me off, because I always also think about Velma when she loses her glasses in Scooby-Doo, and people are laughing. I'm like, bitch is about to die and get caught by the monster because she can't fucking see. Okay, if shit's going down and I lose my glasses, it's the end for me. I'm so, like,
I think about that too. I'm like, damn, this is really a weakness.
Like, I'm out. I'm out the game. Like, I can't continue. I can't see. I can't see.
But yeah, so we both wore contacts like consistently for years, where it was rare to see us with our glasses, unless obviously you lived with us. But that would be another comment people would make. Oh my God, you're a whole different person with your glasses on.
Yeah, I remember, like, I refused. I was like, I don't ever want anyone to know I wear glasses. Like, I don't know if you felt this way, but this is how I felt about wearing glasses. So growing up, I was always pretty nerdy. And I remember going into high school, like, I was a freshman, and I was in, some of my classes were sophomore classes. Like, I was smart. I say was. I'm still smart, but, like, I don't know. I gave up on my intelligence for a little bit, as you guys have noticed. You're probably like, girl, you struggle to talk and read. What's going on? But I remember not wanting to be nerdy. Like, I remember watching shows and movies, and again, this is how, like, pop culture and media influences people, where I'm like, I don't want to be the nerdy girl. I'm like, I don't want that to be me. Because in all of the shows, it's like she's ugly and disgusting or weird, and I was like, I don't want to be the weird girl. I don't want to be the nerdy girl. I don't want that to be me. And that's like one of the reasons I really didn't want to wear my glasses. And I also pushed away all the things that I actually like, because I wanted to be so far from that. And I'm going to go into a few topics right now, where, like, another thing I've been seeing on social media from women in their 30s, they're like, when you get to your 30s, it's about rediscovering who you were as a kid. I don't know if you've seen that message going around. But that's something I've been seeing, and I agree with that, because that's another realization I had when I hit 30. And like you were saying, in your 20s, you're like trying to be what other people want you to be. And I feel like your 20s is all about discovering yourself. And like, you're going to discover yourself years beyond that as well. But I feel like in your 20s, you're like, you can be who. I remember when I was in my 20s thinking, I'm like, I can wake up and be whoever I want to be tomorrow. And I would dye my hair a million times and try different makeup looks and try different outfits. And I was constantly reinventing who I was, because I was like, and I'm going to be this person today, and I'm going to be that person today. And I feel like the older I got, the more I was like, I need to figure out who I am, because I actually don't know who I am. And I think I remember having this conversation with you when I first moved out here too, where I was telling you I don't know who I am, and you're like, what do you mean you don't know who you are? I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't, because I put so much of myself, like you were saying too, into if other people liked me, and into like into my looks and the superficiality of it all. And now again, going back to just like wearing my glasses and being okay with being nerdy and rediscovering all the things I actually like, and going more into the things that I like, and being like, no, I do like these things, and I pretended I didn't for so long because I was worried about being put in a box that I thought I didn't want to be in.
To go off of what you were saying, when I was in my 20s, I felt like I had to dumb myself down as well. And I also would second guess myself. And I feel like I so often would meet men that loved to challenge me or loved to test my intellect. And I would shrink myself, and I wouldn't be confident in what I know. And I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but I came home one night and I was upset because the guy I was hanging out with was like giving me trivia questions. And even though if I knew the answer, I would be like, oh, I don't know, because I didn't want to, if I felt unsure, I didn't want to come off as, it was a weird complex. Like I didn't want to come across dumb, but I also would play dumb if I felt unsure. And you're
Right.
like, who cares? You know, that's why I find it ironic when you went through that stage when you moved out to Seattle, because you were always so self-assured in my eyes, and you taught me a lot. And I felt like you knew who you were for so long, for so many years, and you were very confident in your identity, where I felt like I would mold myself, you know, which you ultimately are saying you went through this too, where I would mold myself depending on who I was around. So I understand, and I think sometimes I do still fall into that pattern.
Yeah, and no, and I get that, and that happens to me too. And like, as secure in myself as I've been and I have always been, like it's bound to happen. And it was just a new experience for me. Like I'm getting emotional. um, I moved across the country, and I feel like I had to rediscover everything about myself and who I was. And I think I encourage, if you haven't moved away, to move away, because I think I was secure in who I was living in New York, because there's a different person, there's a certain personality you could have living in New York, and maybe we'll make a whole topic on that as well, a whole video on that topic as well, where like, it's funny, in New York, people were always thought that I was calm and quiet, and like I could speak up for myself, because in New York you kind of have to. You gotta say speak your mind. And then moving somewhere where like people aren't as outspoken or direct or blunt, and then being seen as like an aggressive person or like that, it was weird. It was like, oh, okay. And then just feeling like, well, where do I belong if I'm not aggressive enough for this place, but then too aggressive for this place? And then again, coming back to myself and realizing, well, I don't really give a fuck. I lost myself for a little bit, and then I came back to that security of, no, I know who I am, and this is who I am. Like, take it or leave it kind of vibe. But yeah, like you're saying too, where like there's gonna be times in your life where you question yourself and who you are and what kind of perception you want people to have of you. And I think also as women too, where we do feel the need to dumb ourselves down. Whenever I do see women doing that, I just want to grab them and be like, no, you're better than this. Because I also think about like the pick me, you know, like that, not trend, that like, what would it be called?
Like trope.
Trope of women. Because sometimes I feel like, going off of what you're saying about men questioning you, where like I am into nerdy things, but because I pushed that away for so long and now I'm like rediscovering it, if I like bring up Star Wars or something, I'm being now, men are like, okay, pop quiz. Like, and if you meet a man like that, again, run. Another reason that's a red flag. Like, no one should be fucking trying to, like, you're not my teacher. Why are you quizzing me right now? Where it's like, oh, I like this thing, and it's like, well, you only like that thing because you're trying to impress a guy, which is funny enough because it's like I pushed not liking that away for so long because I thought that it was, like, I don't know, like trends change, like the glasses change, and now everyone watches Marvel movies, and now comics are cool. Like, you know, like now this is cool, and video games are cool. Like, things are always changing, so it's like you're never gonna catch up to what it is. But I think it's just funny where it's like, oh, I'm gonna quiz you now, and if you don't know the answer, you're stupid or what. And it's like, first of all, you're weird for trying to quiz me.
Right, and I was going to point out, you know, the whole pick me conversation is a byproduct of the patriarchy, and the overall message is that women, we can't do anything right, basically.
Right, and that's okay. That's what I was gonna say. Sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, there are women that like cars and video games and sports. They're not all doing it because they want the attention of men. Just like there are women out there who wear makeup for themselves and dress for themselves. Like, women are their own people and can do things for themselves. Not everything they do is to fucking impress a man. And we shouldn't be shaming, women shouldn't be shaming each other anyway. We need to stick together.
And that's another conversation we had written down, where I don't know if we'll fully get into this, but we were talking about women friendships, and I think, you know, we can dedicate an episode to this because I feel like there you see the distinct difference between like how men interact with one another compared to women. Like, they'll act like they're boys they just met, you know what I'm saying? Like certain things like that, where, you know, women did start to embrace like, oh, you got to be a girl's girl, but then I think there's still so much tied to being, you know, in a patriotic society that affects our womanhood and our friendships.
Exactly. This is a conversation me and my friend have had. So I work in kitchens. I've mentioned that in other episodes. And I work in a male-dominated field. And I remember me and one of my close friends, she also works in the kitchen, of feeling like there's already, if you work in restaurants, there's already the divide of the kitchen and the servers. But then for women, it's like now there's even more of a divide. And I remember me and her having this conversation about the other woman there. And she's like, why am I feeling like they're in competition with me? Like, I don't want to feel that. And I'm like, you know, and she's a little younger than me. And it's like, we have those conversations of like, why, and Danny and I have had these conversations too. When you meet someone, you're like, why do I feel like we're in, like, where is this energy coming from? You know, like feeling like that pitted, like we already feel like we're pitted against each other. And it's like, and for what? And it's very aggravating, and that's why I bring this topic up too, because I feel like I work with mostly men. I'm surrounded by mostly men, and I have to be friends with them on some level. I have to have some kind of camaraderie with them because I work with them every day, and I have to we have to talk, and we have to get through service, and we have to get things done. So there might be women on the other side who perceive that in a way of like, oh, she wants to be around them. I don't know. Like, I don't know how to properly put it into words, where maybe those women were perceiving me and her as like,
oh, look, they want to be around the men, that's why they're in the kitchen.
Something, I don't know. It's just, it's women that, if you get it, you get it. Because I go through, I don't know. It's just like I hate having in any job feeling like, why is it not easier for us to befriend each other the way men are? Men will just be like, what's up, man? And to talk to each other, like you said, they talk to each other like they've known each other for years and can be cool with each other. But for women, we have to like stand at the room and like side eye each other and be like, I don't know. and like I'll try to like talk to people and I'm like, okay, I don't know. I tried.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot. Like I want there to be more camaraderie between women that you know, like we need to come together more and not feel like we're in competition, because what the fuck are we competing for?
Power.
And like again, bringing it back to the substance, how they end up fighting each other too, like battling ourselves as well to be, and like I feel like this is what our whole conversation is about, battling ourselves of like rejecting who we really are for the approval of men and for the approval of society.
And to bring it back to the movie, towards the end, we have Margaret Qualley's character who starts to undergo her own insecurities because what she loses her teeth. I'm like, what was the turning point for her?
Right, so she also starts to like deteriorate as well because she's, you know, they're like they were saying that you are both one. So then yeah, she starts to lose her teeth and it's about to be the biggest night of her life.
Because she kills her older version.
But then she didn't fully kill her because she came back. Or she ripped, oh no, she took the substance and then another creature came out of her. Oh my God, I forgot that. Wait, okay. But my favorite part of the movie though is the end. I know you said you didn't like, this part, but.
We see Margaret Qualley who got all this praise and validation and compliments, and her body is now deteriorating. And she starts thinking about an even more beautiful version of herself, right? So she wants to take the substance, and that turns into, that's where the movie, I think, spiraled into something else, where she ultimately becomes deformed and she has different versions of herself, like coming out of her body. What?
She's just like a creature.
She's now like just like a creature, like a deformed creature. And she still goes on stage. She said, I don't care.
And I love that part.
I'm going out there and I'm showing the world who I am no matter what. And then we have our Carrie moment where blood is spilled all over the audience.
And I love that scene. Let me tell you why. I was watching that scene and I was like, oh my, at first I was like horrified. And then it's still going on. And I was just like, I was like, actually, I love this. And this is pure female rage is what I felt. I was like, this is female rage in all its glory. I loved it. It was amazing. I was like, yes, fuck all these people that are sitting there judging you. Like, fuck them. And I love the way the movie was shot too, because it wasn't like, there wasn't a lot of dialogue in the movie, but there was just enough for you to know what was happening. And like, I loved those the corporate guys, whoever they were, like, they didn't really say much either. They're just like, okay, beautiful, perfect, great, you're wonderful, you're gonna be amazing. Like, they're never really saying much or having full conversations with her. They're just like, okay, she's young, she's hot, perfect.
That's all we need.
Yeah. All right.
And on that note,
on that note, do you have anything more to say on the substance?
Go watch it if you haven't watched it. It's trippy. It's a trippy movie. Demi Moore won an award for that role, right?
She did. She did her first Academy Award.
And just to bring it back to Hollywood, we're witnessing this desire for perfection, right? Where you're seeing an actress you grew up with, or an actor, we see these celebrities we grew up with, and one day they come out and they're looking completely different, and they are trying to achieve this level of perfection only for them to start looking, I don't want to be disrespectful, but they start looking different, and you're like, well, you looked better before you had that surgery.
But I think that that's important, and I know in past videos we've said it before too, and like, again, we're getting some of the things I've said because I now gain a different perspective on it, where I think that that was another point she made too, because she was like, when she was that deformed character, she's like, it's me. Like, that's what she tells the crowd. She's like, it's me. And I feel like that's kind of like what celebrities are like too. They're like, what? It's me. Like, you don't love me? Like, why don't you love me? And I feel like you're saying, like, we're like, no, you looked better before, but they were getting all this, they were focusing, and this is why I tell Danny all the time too, don't focus on the negative, because they were focusing on all the negative people telling them that they weren't good enough and they didn't look good, and listening to producers and executives and assistants and all these other people telling them they don't look good. And then they change themselves, and then even more people are telling them, well, no, I don't like you anymore. So it's like such a double-edged sword for them, where they're like, well, I changed myself because you told me to change myself. And that's kind of like what we're saying too in our own lives of men we've dated, where it's like, well, I did this because this is what you said you wanted.
I also feel like there's this disillusion when and I'll say we, right? Because I don't want any celebrities to feel attacked, because they're human just like us. And I know everyone's just like, oh, fuck. And we say it too, like, fuck celebrities, blah, blah, blah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I've said things before, and then I'm like, okay, that's a person.
Right. They're still going through their human experience. They're just a lot more privileged than most of us, where they have this disillusion of like, okay, let me tweak this part of me, or let me tweak this feature, and then they tweak that feature, and then they look in the mirror again, and then they start pointing out another feature that they want to tweak, and it's just this constant battle of finding all these mistakes, right? They want to rectify all these, what they feel like are mistakes, right? What they feel like is ugly, and what they feel like could be better. This could be perfected. My teeth could be straighter. My cheeks could be more defined, and it's just this constant struggle of, like I said, attaining beauty that it doesn't exist, right? Attaining perfection that doesn't exist. And it's like, the more they change themselves, the more they find other parts of them that they don't like anymore. And it's never enough, right? And I point this out because people are like, oh, well, why do they keep getting surgery? Or why do they keep doing Botox? Or when is it going to be enough? And it's because of their internal struggle that it isn't enough, because, like you said, they're constantly scrutinized, and we do this to each other. And especially when you're in the public eye to that degree, every little thing about you gets picked apart. So I said this before, I can't fault them for wanting to get plastic surgery, wanting to tighten up certain parts of them. I've said this too, like, I understand why. Like, they have so many eyes on them, so many photos of them catch me at a certain angle, and I'm like, oh Lord, this I never want anyone to see this, and that's something they go through on a regular basis. So I can't fault celebrities for doing all the tweaks and the changes. It's just the society that was cultivated.
Right. And then again, most of them are starting to age, and then that's another reason that they also do it, because they don't want to age. And then when they do just age naturally, people are like, oh God, you got old. Like, no, obviously, yeah.
Right.
Why are you comparing me to how I looked 30 years ago? Obviously, I'm not gonna look the same.
A celebrity I do want to point out is Pamela Anderson. I think it's been a couple years now where she decided she wasn't going to wear makeup anymore, and it's just her bare face, right? And I love that she decided to embrace that. And of course, she's going to receive the backlash.
That's the thing that pisses me off too. It's like people sitting at home, like, criticizing this woman for aging. It's like, because she, if you don't know, was a bombshell. Like, that was a big thing back in, like, I would say the 90s to early 2000s, of like, who's gonna be the hot new celebrity, who's gonna be the eye candy. And she has a documentary, I think it's on Netflix. If I remember what it is, I'll put it on the screen, about her life and how she was never taken seriously as an actor. And that's like a whole nother discussion too, where it's like, if you do show your body and then later on in life she's just trying to live a normal life she's also okay, I'm getting sidetracked. Oh my God, I'm losing everything. She's also an activist in her life now too. I think she's always been, but like more so now than ever. And like, again, just people still remembering her from Baywatch, and there's these old men online who are commenting on her face. It's like, who the fuck are you to even say anything? What have you done with your life? Sorry, I think that's great that you brought her up, because I love that she's just embracing aging and her natural beauty. And I think she looks amazing, because that's what an actual person that's what we really look like.
There's this weird aversion to aging. Like, we're all like, it's not gonna happen to you. We're all going to, we have no choice, right? We're all gonna get older. We're all going to get gray hair. Maybe not all of us. Some people have really good genes.
Right, some people are gonna age more gracefully than others, but that's another thing too. We don't have control over well, you do, because you got to take care of yourself. And that's why I felt like that was another important message of the movie, is like, take care of yourself while you're young, so that you don't, like, you still have to like maintain your body and make sure, like, it's not even about looking good, it's just about your health overall, I feel like, as well. I'm looking up, and Pamela Anderson is 58, and she looks amazing. Like, obviously, she's not gonna look how she did when she was 20. Like, it's just not possible. And she still looks beautiful. All right, we are gonna be moving on to our final segment of the day. And we just wanted to do a little art segment this week. We are not going to, like I've mentioned before, we're not going to do the same segments every week. But this segment is where Danny and I show off art that we have made, whether that's poetry, painting, any video, collage, any of the above.
I did showcase this in one of our other episodes. I can't remember which episode it was, but I created a digital collage that I felt represented my body dysmorphia.
I believe it was in our video on plastic surgery.
Okay, that makes sense. I don't want to read everything I wrote here, because I feel like I thought I had a final edit that was better than this, but I do want to read just a small quote. I wrote a little something to correlate with my body dysmorphia collage, and I wanted to read a piece from that. Body dysmorphia is practically a rite of passage. A teenage girl's poison apple gifted by society and the media. It is the perpetual need of searching for a body you love. But the mirror does not grant such adoration, even when you ask every year, who's the fairest of them all? That's it.
Love it.
So I just wanted to read those few sentences because I feel like it encapsulates our full message. The societal pressure of trying to meet the beauty standards that was created by men, and they don't live up to those standards most of the time, so why should we?
Yes, they roll out of bed and throw on the same outfit they had on yesterday.
Same though, honestly.
We just let men be, and that's fine. And we shouldn't. Okay? Anyway, I'm gonna read a poem that I wrote in 2016, actually, so 10 years ago when I was 21, 22. This poem is more about like letting people see who you really are, and I feel like it's interesting. I enjoy going back and reading poetry I wrote in my 20s because it also is like a glimpse into like how I felt then and who I was at that moment in time. And I feel like this poem goes along with everything we were talking about in today's video. Strange the thought of walking unclothed through crowded streets seems easier than being emotionally bare. Strip away the superficial and become completely exposed. Look beyond the color in my iris. What depths do they hold? How long will I leave everyone out in the colds? And would they be any warmer in my heart? Terrified at the thought of letting down my walls, I found comfort in the screams of loneliness bouncing off of them. As I crawl into a safe space in the darkest hours of the night, I share secrets with the monsters under my bed. They tell me how this house isn't a home. They say I shouldn't have swept my pain under the rug. Some have skeletons in their closet, and me, a whole graveyard under the floor.
That's so good.
I know, what? She's not okay. But the starting line that I wrote there is saying the thought of walking unclothed through crowded streets seems easier. And of course, I just think about how that sentence now, like, yeah, in my 20s, I didn't care about showing off my body. And like at that age, it felt easier to be like, yeah, I'll go walk outside naked, I don't care, than being emotional and being open about who I am and my insecurities. And now I feel the reverse of like, it actually feels easier to be emotional and talk about these things. And I don't feel like I have the confidence to walk outside naked. So it's just a glimpse into like how much it all changes. And then probably by the time I'm 80, I won't care about either of those things.
Right. In your 80s, you're like, fuck it.
Yeah, sometimes I can't wait to age. Like, I know, like we were saying, people get scared, but like once I entered my 30s and was like, oh, okay, that's not scary. I feel like I can't wait for it to be even more freeing.
Why wait?
Why wait? I can start now. Why wait when you can start today?
What part of you do you feel like you aren't allowing yourself to be fully free
Right now?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I still get in my head about things. And this is a conversation I think we talked about at the end of our last 2 videos ago about being silly, but I don't really have much of a silly side. And I think coming to terms with that is okay. Like, I don't know. I guess I don't know. That's something I feel like I'm still, like, if we're outside and everyone's like, let's just dance, I feel like there's still a part of me that holds myself. There's still like that awkward wallflower, and I get annoyed at myself sometimes. I'm like, all right, you're 31, girl. When you gonna come off the wall? But then also being like, well, it's okay. I don't know. I'm conflicted in that sense, I would say, of like going back and forth between that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I've mentioned this to you, but I'll share with everyone else. I feel like after my dad died, I lost
Our dad.
Excuse me. I'm talking to the audience. He was my dad. I think after our dad died, I lost that silly side. I not lost completely, but that silly, funny, fun, carefree side of me kind of dwindled. And I think not until recently have I started feeling like that person again.
Same, and I feel like these videos have helped.
I agree. You know, if it wasn't for our dad, we probably wouldn't even be making YouTube videos.
Yeah. I was just telling Danny just the other day at work, I was talking to someone about our dad and how he did stand-up comedy, and the person at work was telling me they do stand-up comedy, and like I also feel like, you know, the job that I do, because I get to be in a kitchen and we can all kind of be a little silly back there because we don't have to face any customers or anything. So I think that that's also helped me a little bit come out of my shell and be my weird, nerdy, awkward self, because everyone else back there is like, you know, it's kind of like the Misfit Islands, where it's just like, yeah, we're all weird. And like, it's okay. Like, that's why you're here, because we're weird. But I feel like there's still times where I get around certain people where I'm like, oh, I can't show that weird side. I don't know. So I get it.
I understand.
We understand each other.
That's why we made this channel together. Well, I think we should wrap it up. We are going to remind you all one more time of our book club. February's book is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. Please join us, read with us, because we are going to have a full discussion on the book by the end of the month. So go get your copy. Let us know what you think about it. Even you don't have to wait until that episode comes out. You can comment that you got your copy and you tell us what you think so far. If you haven't seen our last episode, go watch it. And if you have read Fahrenheit 451, we have a whole discussion on that book in our last episode, episode 7. So let us know what you think. What did you think about Fahrenheit 451? And if you didn't read it yet, you still have time. Go read it and then come back to episode 7 so that you can tell us what you think and if you agree with our takes. Anything else?
No, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to comment, like, subscribe. We don't always say that. And, you know, sometimes we gotta just give you the reminder.
We never say that.
I feel like maybe once or twice we've said it. We say leave a comment sometimes. We never said it. We've never said all of it together. But do the things that are gonna make us famous. Thank you.
Join the movement. We're reading in 2026. Let's go. We're using our brains this year.
Just this year.
Just 2026.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time.
Bye.